we know that we're building towards an incredible match. You've said many times here on the show before, this is your favorite match of your career. And it was you and Shawn Michaels in Nashville and in your house. It was written about in the Observer and the Torch like it was almost a foregone conclusion that you were going to drop the Intercontinental title that night. And people have started to piece it all together in years past. And they've seen an interview you did with Chet Kopic a few days ahead of the pay per view. And you're actually talking about how burnout you are. I know you spent a lot of time traveling with Shawn. Did Shawn know before the match that you were walking out after?
Nothing. And I didn't know until really that day. I mean, I had feeling, and look, I'll say it in my sobriety. Me and Karen had a discussion the other day, and I had said something to the effect that um, I hope I continue, because I know I've made strides in continuing to become a better listener. But if I would have listened to what I said, the Chet Kopic, I remember doing the interview, and kind of the unfiltered part of Jeff was, because Conrad, that, and look, hey Jeff, you signed up for it, but we were 10 on, 3 off, 4 on, 3 off. What was the schedule in those days? It's just how the schedule was. And then on top of that, I was IC champ started in January. And so appearances, they knew that I could do on sales. It's funny, the Pittsburgh SummerSlam that I never was out because I walked out, I did the on sale for that. So in those days, video games and on sales, and I was just a constant grind. I didn't realize it, but man, at the old proverbial, I was running myself in the ground, burning out. But no, the answer to your question is Shawn didn't know. Brian didn't even really know. He didn't even really digest it until in the ring. I mean, he knew, but like, okay, he would have been there when I didn't get up and finish executing the story. He's like, I'm out with you, brother. And he said that. He said, fuck it. Oh, excuse me. He said, we're out.
No, don't excuse me. You can say whatever you want because I just want to remind everybody that Shawn Michaels, we established this very early on in this program. Whenever he signs an autograph, he's prone to draw a big old wiener. Stiff. The match itself, it's an incredible match. They go 20 minutes and 1 second. Shawn does win the Intercontinental Championship. You're that mean, dirty, nasty heel. He is our new baby face. Fun fact, Tony Schiavone and I are watching this pay-per-view, including this match, tomorrow on What Happened When. So if you haven't seen this match in a while, watch or listen to Tony's podcast tomorrow and watch along with us. We're going to have a lot of fun with this. You've had so many great matches since. Why do you think this one stands out above all the rest to you?
Look, I think the lowest hanging fruit here and the most obvious was the Jeff and Brian, Double J and Rhodey chemistry clicked immediately, in my opinion. We started in January on a Monday Night Raw, worked with Davey Boy, and then won the title against Razor at Rumble in January, and then those tag matches, and then all of a sudden, wow, this single comes out. This artist has been talking smack since the end of 93, all of 94, into 95. And he comes out with this single, and I'll be damned, it's actually pretty good. And just kind of that whole vibe of long-term, not storytelling, but character building. And then you have Shawn on the other side, that he had his bodyguard and Diesel, and then they had their run in, and then the split, and then super charismatic. And I just think the two characters were over is kind of the easiest baseline. And when you put, the Eastern Conference versus the Western Conference, they hadn't played any, but they're both kind of champions going into to the match. I also think that for the most part, I know On the other channel, WCW, that they and maybe some ECW they were getting, but on a national stage, there wasn't a ton. I'm not going to discredit, because when I can think off the top of my head, Brett matches, Davey Boy matches, Kurt Hennig matches, but Jeff and Shawn was maybe, like you said, a definitive new generation match, going to be different. And Shawn's he's freaking fantastic, and I think we both came ready with our A game. We were seasoned, and we talked about this. We'd known each other at this point now 10 years and worked quite a bit together. We knew each other like the back of our hand. And like I said, characters, we came ready. The story was there. This is the early days of In Your House, so that both companies had just gone to monthly pay-per-views. So on a 2-hour pay-per-view, there was laser focused on, all right, out of 5-6 matches on a 2-hour pay-per-view. I think a lot of things were just rolling in our direction, and we delivered. I think, humbly I say, I think we delivered.
I don't think you have to worry about saying humbly. I mean, my goodness, this is critical praise. Meltzer even said, I've seen plenty of better WWF and WCW pay per view shows that didn't get anywhere near the level of positive response this show got. I'm not sure if it's an indication of decreasing expectations and thus one outstanding match, blah, blah, blah. A lot of people thought this was the best pay per view of the year. Shawn Michaels and Jeff Jarrett was easily the best work pay per view match thus far in 1995. And he would go on and make other comparisons. But even Wade would say this is a notch above 2 strong WCW matches at the Great American Bash and a definite match of the year candidate in the United States. Jarrett moved his rep up a notch with this one. Michaels further solidified his rep as being the best worker in the U.S. Had the match gone 3 minutes longer after the ref bump, it would have been a quarter star higher. Like, I know that you're proud of this match. And I know that immediately after, man, it's time to handle business and take a stand and do some difficult things. But after the match, do you remember thinking, man, in an alternate universe, I would have liked to have done this or that? I mean, I know that like Brian Danielson has done interviews where he's very critical of watching his old stuff and says he can't do it. Were you thrilled with this match, or did you afterwards say, wish I would have done XYZ?
Me and Shawn have had this conversation, and we were both we did a watch along at WWE a couple of years ago on, maybe that would have been the 20th anniversary. I don't know, some anniversary, doesn't matter. But here's kind of 2 old vets sitting around talking about it, but we knew it at the time. And Conrad, you'll be able to relate to this. And I don't know any other way to say this, though. This match wasn't anywhere close to a storyline blow-off match. Not anywhere close. I mean, it is our first matchup. It's not like we did this angle on TV where the Roadie and Jeff beat the hell out of Shawn Michaels and put him on the, you know what I'm saying? This was, I don't want to say thrown together, but this was a transitional title switch. Like, end of story. We don't need to say any more. The plan was Jeff and Roadie are going to go do their personal storyline, and Shawn is going to head down and he's going to go recreate some magic at SummerSlam with Razor Ramon, and Kevin's going to go on his way. So it was a In Your House, the second one ever, just kind of a transitional. So when I look back and like, oh man, Jeff and Shawn tore the house down, I'd like to say, can you imagine if we really built a storyline arc, and maybe the next one I win and then we have the rubber match, like really built. And me and Shawn have had that discussion, and we both knew it wasn't any blow off angle storyline match, and that makes a difference in a performance.
Yes, for sure.
It just, when you make it for all the marbles on the table, not that the IC title wasn't on the line, but again, it was a transitional title switch. And man, so regret, the regret I may have is, can you imagine what we could have done with a real blow off match?
It's unbelievable to think about what could have been. And I can't wait for us to explore that a little more some other time in the future. I'm also looking forward to talking about when you're there in late 97. There's a circumstance where Shawn Michaels, well, creates a little chaos in Little Rock, Arkansas. And we'll talk about that another time because I
It'll be
want to do a deep dive on that because I know that this is not a story that we can just gloss over. There's so
fun.
much that's been written about this, like tear gas and riots and crazy stuff. I mean, smoke bombs. There's all this rumor and innuendo. What really happened? We'll talk about that as a standalone event.
Conrad, and I know we'll kind of wrap this episode up, but the Easter eggs in that riot in Memphis and in Little Rock, I believe, is a byproduct of the NWO.